All right, and we are on. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How's everything?
Everything is going well over here. First and foremost, thank you for joining my podcast channel called So What's Your Story? Can we start off with what's your name and a little of what you do?
All right. My name is Joe Belardo. I do a lot of things, but I have an organization called Delaware Music Network, and we're a support system for creative artists in the music field. So we give them support, coaching, consultations. We put on events, just anything we can do to help support their career.
Nice. That sounds amazing. So if anybody wanted to reach out to you, where would they go?
Honestly, the best way to catch us is on our social media. So we're on Facebook and Instagram. Just look up Delaware Music Network. I think on Instagram it's Delaware underscore music underscore network.
Okay.
So look there. On Facebook, Joe Belardo. So you look me up, or Average Joe BK on Instagram. But honestly, that's the best way to catch us, or at one of our events. Come through, come talk to us. We're very approachable.
Nice. So, could you name a few of the artists you've worked with?
Well, you're one of them. you know, we work with my daughter Maya Belardo. Um, so it's so many. Kiana Hunt is someone that's up and coming. She's a vocalist. We're working with Cosmic Kai. I'm about to do something with him. Just everybody in the area. I mean, I could go on and on. K Hawk is a rapper. We're talking about collaborating on some things. Swerve. I could just go on and on. It's just so many.
All
But
right.
we're just happy to be here and be of service to the music community because it was something that didn't exist. I
Yeah.
realized that there was a lot of talent. At first, people would say there's no talent, and then I was like, no, this is crazy. There's a lot of talent, but I realized that the talented people just didn't have a support system or even outlets to where they could show and display their talent other than social media. So
Right.
we given a way where you can get on stage and do things in this real life, not just online.
Okay, okay. That sounds
Yeah, yeah.
amazing. So can we get a little brief synopsis of how you grew up? Did you grow up in a two-parent home? Did you grow up in a home at all? Did you know?
I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. Um, I grew up during a time, coming into the '80s. It was very rough. I call that the crack generation. You
Mm,
know, um, but in that urban environment, things came out of it. The hip hop culture and different things. So it was like it was good and bad. I was raised by a single mom,
okay.
and she, worked, still working, trying to get her out of that. But she's still working, and had three other siblings, and just kind of, I feel like a typical Brooklyn home, you know,
Hmm.
typical experience, and with all that was going on in the world during that time, music was my outlet. So I'm still involved in music now, but I would say music, real estate, and just in general, business and entrepreneurship is just something I've always been into, as an outlet.
Okay. And did you know who your father was?
Yeah, he's passed away at the moment, now, but I did know him as a child. He didn't live. Well, he did when I was younger, but he and my mom split. He didn't live with us, but I knew him,
Okay.
and he didn't live in the same state we lived in. He moved down to Florida, and we lived in New York, so I didn't see him on a regular basis, but I did know who he was in the world and did have some contact and communication. So it wasn't like I didn't know who my father was and you know didn't have any contact. I also had other had a stepdad, so I got a second father. My stepdad and other male figures. I grew up I grew up where I grew up. I was always the youngest person around older people.
Okay.
Which is interesting because in my family, I'm the oldest of all my siblings and my cousins. I'm the oldest in my
Hmm.
family, but in public, in my social life, I was the youngest. Um,
You got an old
so
soul?
say it again.
You have an old soul?
I guess so. Yeah, I guess you could say that. Or I would say the soul is where it is now. Like it was there now where it is. It's now where it was always was. So even when I was like
Right.
8 or 9 years old, I was me now. So I was kind of
Got you.
advanced for the kids my age. Um, and that's also academically as well. I didn't skip grades, but like when I was in middle school, like say if I was in sixth grade, I was in class with seventh graders, and stuff like that.
Oh,
So I just always was around older kids. I was hanging out with high
got
school
you.
kids when I was
So
in middle school, and college kids when I was in high school. It's just how it was.
did you and your siblings get along?
My siblings, um,
Uh,
yeah, again, I'm the
mhm.
oldest, so we got along, but at the same time, I did my thing. You know what I mean? I was always out. I wasn't a home person. I was always out in the streets and doing whatever, running around, not necessarily in a bad way, but just out the house. Um,
Got you.
I always wanted to be active, which I still am now. Again, I was kind of like the way I am now. So I always was out and I always wanted to get involved in something. You know, I was that dude even
Mhm.
as I got older and I went to college. I was that dude throwing house parties and charging people at the door. You know what I mean? Like I was just always a business mind and just, always wanted, just always trying to do something. I got into music production. I did freelance writing. I used to write at the Source magazine and Vibe. So I just did, I was just always out there getting into something. So my
Did you have
siblings,
any mentors?
say it again, mentors?
Mhm.
Not directly. I learn from people. I'm a very observant person. So I
Mhm.
study and learn from a lot. I take from everything in life. Sometimes you learn what to do, and then you also learn what not to do from people. So
Right.
there's no particular mentor I have, but I studied everything in life, everything I saw, my surroundings, and
Mm.
it's kind of like my own school. Like, okay, I see that, I see how it's working, and I move according to my observations,
Nice.
if that answers the question.
So if it does. So if you were to tell your younger self something, if you were to give your younger self some advice, what would that be?
I would say stay the course. Things work. When you're an entrepreneur and you're a person who um, tries things and get into things, it can be discouraging. Like, does this work or not? You want instant gratification. So I would just tell myself, my younger self, to be calm and, cool under pressure. And, when there's something worth getting into, or even people, if there's people worth being in a relationship with, if there's a thing worth doing, just be patient with that, stay the course. And in the end, it works out. Like sometimes we worry about if something's right or wrong, or if it's a good decision or not. But I think the universe takes care of everything. So everything works out in the end, period. So that's pretty
Exactly.
much it.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you have children. Um, did you let them know like kind of how you grew up and what was there any advice that you gave them?
Well, I have one daughter, and she got to see and still goes back to my old neighborhood, where I grew up. She lives currently in Delaware, but she actually lived in New York for a while herself. I raised her here in Delaware, but she kind of goes back and forth between New York and Delaware. And her being an artist, she travels. So yeah, I told her she knows what I've been through. And the good thing for me as a parent is, and any parent, you go through what you go through so that your children don't have to go through it. So some of the stress of growing up in New York, which you can imagine, some of them, um, she didn't have that life. You know, her life was basically more, she just whatever she wanted to do. She had um, two parents that supported her and still do, even now as she's an adult. So she was always free to do what she wanted to do. I think as a result, she's way more advanced. I think my daughter is way more advanced than either one of her parents.
Mm. Okay.
Um, so, we still help and support her, but at the same time, you know, you're still growing, even as an adult, you're still growing. So and I'm still trying to be the best version of myself I can, trying to improve. I haven't arrived. I'm still figuring things out, still learning and growing. But I'm glad to have a daughter and look in her and go, wow, she learned that, she really absorbed all the lessons, the things I had to learn. Like she's there already.
Hmm.
So I'm very happy, proud of that, proud of her. It's a
That's
bright spot
amazing.
in my life.
So, what's your ethnic background?
I like that. I like that you use the word ethnic, um, because I feel like um, in this society we live in, I feel like they attach certain things to people. So ethnically, I'm diverse. I have some Nubian. Uh, I'm a child of Songhai, so from the Songhai Empire, um, which is West Africa. Um, One of my cousins trace our ancestry also back to the Akan, which Akan is also part of Songhai Empire.
Nice.
I also have Cherokee roots and Taino. So
Okay.
a little bit of
You
a
know.
lot of things.
Cool, cool. So what's your favorite foods? Are you,
I love food. That's interesting that you brought it up. I love food, so it's very hard for me to pick a favorite. I seasonally change or periodically change my favorite food, but I
oh,
guess my overall, if you go by actual life, because I could say this is my favorite, but real life, what I choose a lot of times, it's pasta. I guess my Italian, the Italian food is my favorite. I love lasagna and just any kind of pasta. So I guess
okay.
that's number one.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, if you could pick a song that illustrated your life, what song would that be?
Wow. One song. Wow. That's whoo.
One song.
Oh man. Um, illustrate my life.
Hmm.
Hmm. Oh wow. You got me on that one, huh? Let me think. I guess I would go with Bob Marley. Don't worry about a thing. You know what I mean? Because no matter what happens, life gets stressful. You go through ups and downs, but everything's gonna be all right.
That's
So that's kind of like how I live. And don't get me wrong. Sometimes I do feel a little tension, a little stress, a little pressure.
hmm.
Especially being involved with so many things. But I always say, don't worry about a thing, and I just push on. Yeah.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
an amazing song. Love that song. So we're about to wrap up here. So I just wanted you to end off with a positive quote.
Oh,
And
wow.
can you remind people how to get in touch with you?
Okay. Wow. A positive quote. Um, woo, let's get the heavy ones. Um, I don't know if this is a quote or quotable, but I guess a positive note I will leave on is to everyone out there: be you. Find out who you are, figure out who you are, and just be you. Because we're always trying to follow trends. We're always trying to fit a mold or brand ourselves, especially in the day and times we're on. Everyone wants to brand themselves and be this or that. If you could be you and just be good at being you, you're going to be successful. Um, Again, as far as Delaware Music Network, the first Wednesday of every month, we're at the Wilmington Public Library. So this Wednesday is our next open mic, 6 to 10. Come through. Everybody is welcome to come through. Um, we have a DJ, we have live musicians, any genre, anybody's welcome to get on the mic and build with us. And you can reach us always at the first Wednesday in the library or any of our other events. The third Fridays, we're at Finnegan's Pub 302 in Trolley Square. But you can also catch me on Instagram, Average Joe BK, Joe Belardo on Facebook, or Delaware Music Network, which is on Instagram and Facebook. We out there. We in these streets. You might see me walking down. You might see me walking down your block one day. I don't know.
There you go. Well, thank you again for coming on and
Thanks for having
see you
me.
soon. Have a good one.
All right. Take care. Peace.